Hey, Hickok 45. If you were in the military back in the 1950s, this is the package you were issued. This holster and this nice pistol. Oh, by the way, that's if you were in the Czechoslovakian military. Almost forgot. I forget there are other militaries. Let's shoot this thing. Let's take the safety off and let's shoot this thing. It does shoot. I'll be darned. Yes, this is the CC-52. Guess how far back it goes? 1952. Guessed it. Y'all are ahead of me, aren't you? Yes, this is it's a Czechoslovakian pistol, the military issue firearm. And a fellow lent this to us and said, well, let's just show it to the viewers. And I've learned a little bit about it. Kind of an interesting gun. A lot of these Eastern Bloc pistols like this, they're a little clunky in a way. You know, the ergonomics are not always great, the ones I've held. And this one, you know, fits that description. It's not too bad. It actually does feel as though there's a little bit of quality built into this thing. And you can usually count on that from the Czechs. It's been my experience, the firearms from there that I have fired. But it's an interesting firearm, interesting round. Let's take just a couple more shots with it. And I'm kind of learning where to hold the thing and trying to keep from pulling left with it. It has kind of a narrow grip, and that's also, I think, kind of typical of these firearms from that part of the world. Has a, look at this, has a decocker. How cool is that? 1952. Amazing. Even has a firing pin block. So, pretty neat. Alright, let's see if I can hit that 2-liter. Got the safety off this time. Alright. Trigger is not the best. I've had worse. Might even be able to put one on the gong if I have any clue where to hold. Yeah. So it fires a fast little round. Okay, that's one of the interesting things about this firearm. Like I said, it goes back to 1952, and if you take a look at it, it fires the same cartridge that the Tokarev does. That 7.62 by 25. I'll load a magazine while I'm gabbing at you here, but I read that the gun was designed really for the 9mm, but let's go back into the 50s. We know what we know, don't we? I think there was a little political persuasion there on the part of another country, a Soviet Union, that preferred the firearm to be chambered in the same round that the Tokarev was, and that was the 7.62 by 25, going back to, I think, around 1930. So that cartridge, I've never really owned anything that fires it. It goes way back, way back. I think that replaced the Nagant revolver, that 1895. So it has a long history, and this gun goes all the way up to 82 for 30 years. You know, this was the adopted round and pistol of the Czechoslovakian military. So this round has a long, long history in that part of the world. And you might find it kind of interesting if you don't know anything about it. I didn't know a lot about it. I had fired it on a couple of different occasions. But if you notice, here's another one over here. It's you can think of it as kind of a shortened AK round, can't you? It's 7.62, but not by 39, by 25. So it's a lot shorter. You know, basically the same caliber, but a shorter cartridge. And you know, kind of little basics information there. You know, it doesn't matter what caliber something is. The length of the cartridge, the power is a big factor. So we got a pistol caliber or pistol round versus a rifle round. So there's your AK round, the AK-47 round, and same caliber in terms of diameter. I guess, you know, within a thousandth or whatever, but just shorter and not quite as powerful. But it does pack plenty of punch. That's what they liked about it. And it's a fairly heavy pistol. It's a couple of pounds, and they wanted something that had a lot of penetrative value, and that little round does, because it trucks between 14 and 16, 1700 feet per second, depending on you know, where you get the ammo. Kind of like the we brought out the 223, the 5.56 round here to just give you an idea. It's a little bit like the 5.7, you know, that's kind of popular today. You know, that new hot round, the 5.57. You've seen our videos with that, you know, which is basically a 22 caliber shortened round. You know, so you got a kind of a rifle round shortened to that for a pistol or carbine, and then you've got the 7.62 for 39 shortened to this. Just a little bit of parallel there. I thought maybe you'd be interested in seeing that. And then also, while I'm looking at bullets here, cartridges, you also have just this laid here beside the 9mm and the 357 SIG. There's a 9mm in the middle and a 357 SIG on the left. You have a necked case there with it too, just a little, you know, the similarity in that it's necked. Of course, the 357 SIG is, you know, 36, 37 caliber. This is 30 caliber, 7.62 by 7.62. Okay, so enough talk about the cartridge, but it is an interesting cartridge. Very fast. You notice this firearm, and any firearm that fires it's kind of known for the muzzle blast and, you know, the velocity. So you definitely hear it when it goes off. And this is the holster that they came in, issued in. You got your little cleaning rod, and it's kind of neat. Goes back to the Cold War days. You know, you got your spare magazine, fits in there like a glove, and so does the gun, 2 mags. So pretty cool little. Well, man, that's not wise, is it? Putting those in there. I'm trying to put a 357 Cygnus magazine is what I'll be doing next. We're not going to shoot a lot, but I wanted you to see the gun and just introduce you to it in case you were not familiar with it at all, because it's kind of a heavy gun. It's interesting, and it has that decocker I showed you. You know, decock it safely. It has a rebounding hammer that does not rest on the firing pin. It's kind of interesting for an old gun like this. Has a firing pin block, as I mentioned. It what else does it have? Let's take the slide off. I'm not going to break it down totally, but, and of course we're empty. But you cock the hammer here, and then you just pull down on these 2 little gizmos. It's an interesting design. That slide just pops off. It has kind of a roller bearing here. The way it operates is then the spring is around the barrel. I'm not going to take all that apart, but it's designed to withstand the high pressure of that round, and it's a kind of an interesting round. I don't have a screwdriver right here, but those roller bearings release and help absorb some of that pressure, as I understand. I don't know exactly how it works. There's your firing pin block. So unless the trigger's pulled, the firing pin cannot get to the primer. So, you know, we think of that as being a newer innovation, but, you know, this thing goes back to the early 1950s, the very early 1950s when it was designed, and then adopted, I think, in 52, hence the CZ52, up through 82. So for 30 years, that was the firearm for the Czechs. Pretty cool. These old guns like this, even if it's nothing I would want, you may look at some of these old guns as junk. You know, man, who'd want one of those things? But, you know, they come at a pretty reasonable price, and in some cases there's a lot of surplus ammo around. They have that history. It's kind of like the Mosin Nagant. You know, you've got the history, you've got the low price, fine shooting gun. So they're very appealing to a lot of people, and they're appealing to me from that historical standpoint, if nothing else. Even if it's a firearm, I'd look at it and think, what a clunker, who would want that thing? And again, you got the decocker if you push it all the way up, and then you push it down for fire. So it's on safe right there. So we're kind of familiar with that concept of the 1911. Push the safety down, and it's ready to fire. Okay, and now you got this European, the old style mag release down here, which most of us don't really care much for, you know, but that's just the way it is. And magazine holds 8 rounds, and it's ready to go. Pretty cool gun. These were not even imported, I think, into this country until about the late 1990s by CZ. And I'm not sure what the legalities are on that. Where I think a lot of these guns, you know, didn't make it over here until, you know, the 80s or 90s. Is when I was first getting into guns, collecting, shooting. You know, a lot of these things were just not available. Of course, when I first got into shooting, you know, we were still involved in the Cold War. The Berlin Wall was still in existence, you know, so I go back a ways. So let's just take a few more shots with it. We're not going to put on any kind of shooting exhibition, particularly if I don't have my magazines loaded. But pretty interesting, very fast little round, and there's a wide variety of ammunition, as I understand. Now this, what I'm shooting is mostly this Winchester metric caliber, 7.62 by 25, kind of a white box. Imagine that being available in Winchester white box. So it's very loud and it's pretty fast. You don't want to be hit with a case either. I popped John with one here a little bit ago. Just the ejecting case, it comes flying out of there fast and hard. Safety on, put it around the chamber, and I have noticed just a little bit of shooting I've done with it. I have a strong tendency to pull left with it because that narrow grip and the trigger is nothing to write home about. But I'm going to take a couple more shots. I hate not to hit the gong with at least one round, no matter what I have out here. So let's try that again. Take the off. I heard that hit wood, I thought. I heard metal. There we go. Okay, I heard that. It's a little bit like the 5.7. It's a very loud and very fast round, and so the round is actually getting there about the time you hear that incredible blast, so it's hard to hear the steel and to know whether you've hit the steel or not. I think I can hear whether I hit this 2-liter though. I heard that one. Let's see if we can hit one of those tree limbs. Hit one of them. Again, it's not a very heavy bullet, and it's trucking 85 grains. It's trucking really fast, but still, if you have a light bullet, it's not going to just knock steel around too badly. Let's try it again here. Not too bad. You've seen some 115 grain 9mm not do that well, haven't you? Right here at the compound. Let's see if it'll shoot left-handed. Some guns won't. They just won't fire. That one did. All right. Pretty neat, pretty neat. We got a couple rounds left here. I think I'll just fire this Winchester. Mainly ones you take a look at this and have a little appreciation for some history. And then this firearm was replaced, I believe, in the early 80s, around 82, by the Makarov. So a lot of you are familiar, you have those guns. You recommend that I get them and shoot them, and I may do that. The Tokarov, the Makarov, which I'm mispronouncing, and people can correct me and feel good about that. And then this gun, these are all those Russian firearms, the Nagant revolver, the 1895. I keep looking for one of those to pick one of those up because they're really inexpensive. I think they'd be pretty neat. Just haven't found one yet. Just when I'm at a gun show or a gun shop or anywhere like that. So I want to pick one of those up. They are the ones that seal the cylinder and the back of the barrel and all that. They're kind of an interesting concept. But anyway, the CZ52, a piece of history, and let's just take out a historical cowboy. Let safety down. Yeah. Loud, huh? Loud and hits hard. Now, one of the big negatives I mentioned about this, other than the fact that if you were in the military in the United States in the 1950s, I'm sorry, but you were not issued this gun, right? As I finally pointed out. Sad to say, this wasn't your gun. You had to settle for that ugly old 1911. Whew, man. So much nicer than this. But the other disadvantage of this is it doesn't have a slide lock on it. Boy, I tell you what, the slide lock really spoils you in a hurry. We were running a bore snake through here a minute ago just to make sure it was clean, and just the contortions you have to go through to get a bore snake even in there and pull it down. John's holding the slide back, and I'm trying to hang it, dangle it down in there so we can get it through. Until you break it down, then of course it's easy to clean. But those little things you take for granted that you don't have on every firearm. But pretty cool, pretty cool. Again, that round, I believe, spans from around the 1930s up until the 1980s, and it's still around in quantities. You can find quite a lot of it in surplus. The owner of the gun left me some surplus ammo here too. I guess we shot it enough, but we just wanted to show it to you. It's a little bit difficult to shoot well because of the lack of ergonomics, I guess you could say. If I shot it enough, I think I could probably get to where I shot it just fine. But to me, it's just interesting as a piece of history from Czechoslovakia. You know, that's pretty cool. For 30 years, you know, this was the gun. You know, a gun that you might not have even seen, and that I was not really that familiar with at all. And for 30 long years, that's almost 3 decades, people carried that, and that was just their daily routine. You know, they know this gun like we know a 1911 or a Glock or an M&P or something. So pretty interesting. Okay, so hope you got a little bit out of that and enjoyed a look at a CZ52. Life is good.